Hello class, this is the last of my mini lectures related to the text, and I hope what you've discovered isn't so much that I lecture about what's in the text, but maybe just try to give you some different thoughts, maybe some overview ideas, just some things to think about. And of all things, for this book to end with the chapter on life after death is a fascinating one. It is one that is an argument difficult to argue for or against, depending on your position. And I think as you read the chapter, my suspicion is you found that to be the case. There are several different ways people view life after death. Some believe that it is a bodily resurrection, that in fact after one dies, for example, the Apostle Paul in Thessalonians talks about our bodies being raised up, that in fact it is a bodily resurrection. There are others who believe that there is this unity between soul, spirit, and body, and that though the body may die, the soul and the spirit continues to live on. Just a funny story, when my mother-in-law passed away a number of years ago, my middle son was about, gosh, he was probably 5 or 6 years old, and very curious young boy at that time, and he asked the undertaker what happens when they die. And this guy was trying to be very soothing or whatever. He says, well, your grandma's really in heaven. And then my son asked, well, how will she know everybody? And the funeral director looked at us, asking us for questions, and then my son David answered his own question. He turned around, looked at us, he goes, I bet everybody's got those little name tags that says, hi, my name is. So I don't know if that's the way you would believe, or whether or not you believe there's a heaven, and whether or not there would be name tags that say, hi, my name is. There are some people who believe that life after death does not exist, that in fact when the body dies, so does whatever make up that body. There are many people who don't even believe that there is such a thing as a soul or a spirit. And if that's the case, then what happens is when the body dies, that's it. Life is over as we know it. There are those who hold to the idea, the notion that the spirit, the soul, although a part of the body, although it is a part of the body, that it is yet separate from the body. And that's one of the arguments that's used in the chapter. So that when the body dies, and whether the body is cremated, buried, or whatever, it is nothing more than a shell. And what happens is the soul or the spirit continue to live on. There are some who believe that the mind is the heart of a person, that the mind is the heart and soul of that person, so that when one dies, the body may physically die, the brain may die, but the mind, which is different than the brain, continues to live on for all eternity. There are many, some philosophers, some atheists, some just people not real sure, essentially believe that life after death, the whole concept of life after death, is created simply to give we who remain a sense of hope or comfort. So I know many of you have lost people in your lives that were meaningful to you, whether it's mother or father, grandmother, grandfather, spouse, hopefully not ever a child, because that's one of the most difficult to deal with. And so this whole thing about life after death is just made up to comfort us who remain. And that's another viewpoint. I am not here to tell you which way to believe. That is solely your decision. And philosophically, from the book, I don't think you can prove life after death. After all, there is no true empirical evidence. Now, lately there's been a rash of books out, especially in the Christian market, that talk about, 7 minutes in heaven, or the one about the little boy who went to heaven and came back and saw all these things. I don't want to doubt the validity of these people and their experiences. Some medical professionals have said that what happens when one dies is that there's this huge release of chemicals in the brain, and which causes like the bright lights and these experiences. But in fact, that when the person is revived, that then they recount they recount the experience, but it was all based from a chemical infusion at the time of quote unquote death. Now, one of the most interesting books I've read about this, and I can't recall the title. It was written by a medical doctor, a neuroscientist too, I think, a neurologist or something like that. And he came at it from a medical perspective because he did die. He died, had a death experience, talked about what he experienced, and then was revived and wrote a book about it. It's pretty risky for a medical doctor unless he truly believed it, because his whole credibility in the science world is then put at risk. But it was a fascinating book. If you're interested in reading it, I would just do a Google search on something like medical doctor, life after death. And it's a book that was published just within the last couple of years. So there's that idea of experiential relationships or experiential events causing one to believe in life after death. But at the end of the day, it becomes a personal belief. It becomes a personal matter. No philosophical argument, no even real medical argument can definitively say that there is life after death. Life after death, for many people, is a matter of faith. I mean, we've looked at this whole idea of God from the beginning. That's what this whole course has been about, proving the existence of God. Is there God? Do morals come from God? Are there such things as miracles? On and on. And the bottom line is, if you believe in a God that is eternal, and that he wants you to live eternally with him, then your idea of life after death will take one form. If you are the kind of person who says, no, there is no God, that it's all just made up, that what we see here on this earth is all that there is, then you will believe that there is nothing after death. So, again, you can look through the philosophical arguments. I don't think you're going to find a way to say, yes, that's right, or no, that's wrong. Because at the end of the day, you can't really prove it. And that's why people like Christians, Muslims believe that there's life after death as well, although theirs is a different take on it. People in Muslim faith, they believe there's life after death, but there is there could be a limit to it. In other words, you may get up there to heaven or whatever they view eternity to be, and you could still actually be cast out. That there is, in fact, the judge, Allah, could actually say, now, you did a lot of good things, but you did a lot of bad things too, and decide he doesn't want you there. So there, again, different ways at looking at this whole issue of life after death. I can tell you my experience. And my older brother, is a medical doctor, and I think he's come to believe the same thing, that there is, in fact, an entity, you call it the soul, call it spirit, whatever you want to call it, that resides in each of us. It's the same thing that allows us to enjoy beautiful music. It's the same thing inside of us, that when we smell a certain smell, it brings back memories of home. Or one time I was standing on the Continental Divide up in the Rocky Mountains looking out, and the air was so clean, so crisp, and it just takes your breath away, and you're looking at these beautiful mountains, and you think, this can't be something that just happened. Even the most brilliant scientists, even including people like Stephen Hawking, has said that there's definitely a created order to the universe, that it didn't happen by circumstance or just, just by chance. So myself, believing in a God who creates, and having what I believe to be a soul and a spirit, do believe that that goes on to exist for eternity. And you may think, well, why does anybody want to live forever? Well, it's from the Christian perspective, it's a different worldview. The forever is not like it is here. I would not want to live on this earth forever. I can tell you that right now. Not with all the heartache and with the pain and the misery and the tornadoes and the tsunamis and airplanes crashing, and I mean all the bad things in this world, evil, hatred. I don't want to go on living like that. So am I just wishing that there is eternal life so that I can somehow ease my mind about living here now? I don't know. I don't think so. I've spent a lot of time studying about things like this, and at the end of the day, it does become a matter of faith or no faith in what you believe to happen to you after you die. So that's a quick overview of this particular chapter. I think you'll find the arguments interesting, and I think you'll find this is one of the easiest chapters to read as well. Some of these other chapters are very difficult. I understand that. But I think you'll find it a good chapter to read, and one that will catch your interest. And I'll provide some supplemental videos for you to look at as well that I think you'll find very interesting. Thanks very much, and we'll be talking to you soon. Bye-bye.